Hey everybody, in this video we're going to look at this one question on the screen here. Before we begin, I highly recommend that you grab something to write with so you can follow along, take notes. You'll also want your calculator ready, and it looks like this question requires us to use the t-distribution table, so make sure you have that ready to go as well. All that said, let's get started. We are going to find the margin of error for the given values of C, S, and N. C is 0.95. S is 2.2 and N equals 16. And we're looking for the margin of error. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the SSE's website. Let's go to Math, Statistics. We are in Chapter 6, and we have some new Chapter 6 flashcards up. I really like these to help you make your own flashcards. And let's see, margin of error. Let's find that. There it is, margin of error. And there are 3 different formulas that we use for margin of error. We just need to pick the correct one based on which values were given. And in the problem that we saw on the screen, we were given S and N, right? Let's go back over there. See, we have S, we have N, and it specifically says t-distribution. So we are going to use this second formula here. This is the margin of error for the population mean, where the population standard deviation, that's what this symbol means, is unknown. So we're going to use this formula here. In order to use this, we need S and N, like I said, but we do need the critical t value, and that's why we're instructed to use the t-distribution table. So let's start there. So N is 16 and C is 0.95. Let me open up my table. If you'd like, you can print out a copy of the t-table from the SSE's website. We've got the standard normal distribution, and then the third page is the t-distribution, which is what we'll be using right now. So if n is 16, then our degrees of freedom is 1 less than that. So we're going to be looking in row 15 here. Now, as far as which column we want to look in, that depends on the confidence level, and ours was 0.95. So we will look in the third column. So in the third column, in row 15, looks like we get 2.131. That would be our critical value. Let me put that on my whiteboard here. Let's see, where can I type? There we go. Okay. So my critical value, t value, 2.131. I don't have my drawing pen with me here, bear with me, so I'll try my best to make this work out for us here. So we have our critical value, we have S, we have N. Those were the 3 things that we needed for the formula, right? Let's look back at the formula sheet. We needed the critical value, we just found that from the table. We need S and we need N. I'm going to go ahead and open up a scientific calculator and actually just start plugging this stuff in. So my favorite calculator is Desmo Scientific. So the first thing in our formula we got to plug in is the critical value. We just found that. Right? It was 2.131. So let's start by putting in 2.131, the critical value. All right, now looking back at the formula, double checking. The next thing, I'm going to type it how I see it. I'm going to do parentheses, and then I have a fraction, so I'm going to use my fraction button over here. And I have to take the sample standard deviation, S, they gave me. They said S was 2.2. So I'm going to take 2.2. And according to the formula, I have to divide by the square root of n. Now in our problem, n is 16, so I'm going to divide by the square root of 16. So I'm just going to click down here, square root 16. And for good measure, I will close the parentheses. And it looks like I end up with this right here, 1.17205. Let's go ahead and put that in. And that was it. That was the margin of error formula. You have to plug in those 3 values. And when you do, you get your margin of error. Let me put it in. Margin of error. Margin of error, which is capital E. Why is nothing typing? Sorry about that. I have no idea why nothing was typing. Let's try this again. Okay, well that's not gonna that's not gonna work. Let me just go back to the screen then. I wanted to write it in here because we do need to round to 3 decimal places. Be very, very careful about rounding. I didn't mention it before because the critical value was already to 3 decimal places, so that was fine. But we do need to round our final answer to 3 places. So let's just go back here. So we have 1.1720. So to round to 3 decimal places, you need to look at the fourth number. And if the fourth number is 5 or above, you can round up. But if it's not, you round off. So my final answer would be 1.172, and that's it. A lot of students are like, hey, what about that 5 right there? But you only ever look one place to the right of where you're rounding to. So if I'm rounding to 3 decimal places, I only need to look at the fourth number and nothing else. So this one does round off to 1.172. That is my margin of error, and I'm all done.